Daybreak, the Daybreak Show.
Revenue is very critical and is at the essence of what we are running as a federation. 22 years ago, then we started this experiment of democracy. One of the first things that should have been done would have been to look at this formula. All the agitations around restructuring, decentralization that we're now talking about today would not have been there, because then one of the first work of the legislature or even this commission itself should have been to look at how this revenue sharing, which is at the essence of the federation, can then ensure equity. For 22 years we were still adopting a military sharing formula. What are we calling dividends of democracy if it's not backed up with revenue? So today we are complaining about dividends of democracy under development because we have concentrated a lot of the resources of this country at the federal level. We are talking restructuring. What is it? This is it. But they have just done what they call a palliative, not a fundamental change. You are moving from 48.5 or 52.6 to 45 point. That's just a change of 3.3%. What has that done? The principle of federation says that resources should be devoted where do you have the greatest level of responsibility. More resources should be given to the subnationals. If you don't give them more resources, what are you then expecting them to do? Perform magic? In essence, it's actually a unitary autocratic government we are running. These companies we are talking about, they reside where? They reside in states and local governments. The effectiveness of those companies is dependent on the infrastructure, the enabling environment that is provided by that state or by that local government. Subnationals should begin to, particularly those who are aspiring to positions in the subnational level, must begin to say, and we must begin to ask them as citizens, senators, federal representatives, not just being there and say, I'm coming to do empowerment for you. These are the fundamental things that we should be asking them. How are you going to push for better resources to the subnational level of government? It's not about constituency project. Leave constituency project for local government. What are you doing with that? Your responsibility is to go and make laws for the effective governance of this country. We're running what they call a beggar economy. When they go to Abuja, when they get allocation, they're happy. It is high this month, it's high. It is high. If it's low this month, it is low, because they are not in control of all the indices that generate revenue for them. Every state in this country has enough resources, and if it has enough intelligent people to derive revenue to sustain itself, it's just we have not been tasking ourselves well enough. There is this law of economic that says that every community has the means by which it will survive and thrive if it organizes itself very well. What has federal government got to do with primary education that is in the community? Healthcare, the same thing. Primary healthcare. What has federal government got to do with primary health care? What government at that level has to do is what they call policy. And then the implementation dovetail it to people at the local level, even at the community or the local government level, because that's where it is close to us. I pray that Nigerians should begin to know is to understand what I call fundamental economics of government. The source of wealth in the world has moved from under the ground to on the head. You conceptually understand the resources you have, which is not only land. It can be intelligence, it can be culture, it can be science and technology, it can be all of that. Do you know how much money Israel makes from pilgrimage? We need to begin to showcase what we have, and we have every continent, every country, every state has something to offer the world. We should be asking them, particularly anybody that's going to get elected, what are you going to do differently? Your own restructuring should not come from just allocation. It should come from what are you going to fundamentally restructure our economies. Are you stimulating innovation? They say our youth are restless. Why would they be restless when you have not given them enough to do? This for me is old economic thinking, old economic structure. We need fresh thinking. We need new thinking. We need thinking that will energize us, energize our youth. I don't join Yoruba Nation they talk about. I don't join the argument. The argument is, are we building sustainable economies? Economies that can generate resources for itself with our intelligence and resources we have. And we can. They are talking about expenditure. They are not talking so much about income. So that is one thing about sincerity and truth and freedom. But unfortunately, you know, because we are new in democracy, we are so excited.
Daybreak. The Daybreak Show.